Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Viral Manjan. So today's episode is all about the role of distinctive brand assets in e-commerce. So we have a guest speaker from an e-commerce background who will be discussing the role of distinctive brand assets in e-commerce. Please welcome Hamad Ravda.
And thanks, Sabura and Zara, for having me over.
Hamad is a technology executive with over 10 years of experience working with high growth startups and retailers across product, marketing, and operations. Previously, he was Chief Marketing Officer for Daraz, where he was the key architect of growth strategy that powered it to the number one e-commerce marketplace in 5 countries in South Asia, eventually leading to acquisition by Alibaba Group in 2018. Prior to Daraz, Hamad founded 2 companies in social gaming and managed e-commerce services. So that's a little bit about Hamad for today. And over to Subura, who will be asking all the necessary questions that we have in mind for Hamad. Over to you.
Hi everyone. Hi Zara. Hi Ahmad. Welcome to our podcast. Thank you for such a nice introduction, Zara. I'll now just move forward with the rest of the discussion. So, guys, we've been talking about distinctive brand assets a lot. We've discussed what distinctive brand assets are, how do you actually turn your assets into distinctive brand assets, and then we discussed case study for a brand. So today we're going to be discussing how your your distinctive brand assets play an important role in your e-commerce. So we'll be asking a few questions and that Hamad will be answering. I'll just give you background of the question. So first question is going to be around how our distinctive brand assets can be used in e-commerce and determining success in e-commerce. Secondly, the question is going to be about competition. How do we stand out in competition in such a busy online world? And the third major part of the session is going to revolve around ad budgets. What should we be doing if we have lower ad budgets and if we have a huge ad budget? So how do we utilize it better? So just to give you a context of distinctive brand assets, I would like Hamad to answer that how these distinctive brand assets, for example, a brand color or font type or a jingle or any other asset that is a DBA for a brand can be helpful in our e-com journey, and how can our brands and entrepreneurs can better utilize these assets to actually build their e-com market. Over to you, Hamad.
Thank you, Sabura. I think that this is a pretty good question, right? We are living in a world of extreme clutter and, people are always on screens consuming a lot of content, right? So it's very easy for our brands to kind of be lost out in such clutter. I tend to think of distinctive content or distinctive brand assets very much as a multiplier on all of your marketing efforts, right? Content that will stand out, gets better engagement, it gets better conversion. I think the bigger question really is how should you actually be thinking about distinctive brand assets, right? Really, I think like for me, it really comes down to 2 things. Brands have to become better at anticipating where customers are in their customer journey, because typically with e-commerce, you will see that there are multiple touch points, right? That you will have your social media presence, you will have your ads, you will have your own website, and then, the product pages. So it's very important to be able to understand at each stage what questions is the customer looking to answer, and then proactively be able to respond to those customer queries in the moment when the customer is looking for it. The second thing would be that brands have to become much better at thinking also about the context of the environment in which the message is appearing. What works really well on Facebook might not work very well on Instagram and might not work very well on YouTube. Yet what we do see is brands continually will repurpose the same content to be running on all platforms as well as their e-commerce presence. That simply is not the right way to go. The best brands will take into account the context of the customer, where they are in their buying journey. And number 3, they will also acutely try to understand the language and the style of the platform that they're posting the message on.
So this means that again, it will come down to the point that you have the right message for the right person at the right time and the right platform, and how you actually use your distinctive brand asset with respect to the platform you're communicating on. Is that right?
Absolutely, that's spot on.
Okay. So
Right.
next time, guys, whenever you're planning your campaigns for e-com, so these are the things that you should keep in mind if you want your campaigns to be, more productive and successful. Now move on to the second question, that there is so much competition and there are numerous buying options online. So how does one stand out in the world of e-commerce and with such buying options and competitive pricing?
Like for me, it's like a two-part question because I think within the realm of e-commerce, marketing and retail are effectively joined on the hip. Usually, like they proceed on one continuum. When we are kind of talking about success, like we have to kind of think about the retail proposition as well as what you're kind of doing on marketing, right? So I think like generally, like customers today are very well informed. They spend a lot of time researching their product, and moreover, they are really expecting excellence in the end-to-end experience from brands, right? From the first interaction through to the purchase experience, and then also the after-sales experience. I think within the world of unlimited options and good value, there's really no substitute for a great product and services that is what lead to positive word of mouth and good reviews. Topic of reviews, like, since customers are doing so much of their research online today, I think it's very important that brands proactively are looking to curate the best reviews about the product. And then at the same time, it should be bolstered by partnering up with the right influencers so that you can better penetrate niche audiences with people that they trust. And that's very important, right? Because customers today are looking for authenticity and they're looking to get the opinions on the products from people that they trust. So when you're kind of at least talking about like your e-commerce experience, you have to really consider the entire product value proposition and understand how that can be bolstered further for customers. Now, this can be through free and fast shipping. It can be through generous return policies. Like it can be through product warranties whenever it's applicable, and it can be through like providing the right payment options for people. Brands have to at least ensure that they are at parity, if not better, than the competition on these metrics. Importance of really good product content cannot be underestimated. Your product landing page ultimately has to be able to cover all of the key buying criteria and decisions that the customer has and should be able to answer it, right? All the way to, like, let's say if like I'm buying a kurta, I should be able to see how it looks on me by at least being able to look at whether the model is somebody who kind of falls in line with how a typical person would look. When we are talking about the marketing proposition, I think it's very important that brands really capitalize on the marketing calendar and the assets of their e-commerce partners too, and they should look for opportunities to partner closer with their platforms. Like, let's say in Pakistan, that would be Daraz or any of the payment platforms. So like looking for partnerships and looking for co-marketing opportunities would be something, especially when done at the right time, would help brands stand out. Lastly, not all customers are made equal. And you'll often find scenarios in which 20% of your customers will be responsible for 80% of their sales. So here, what brands have to really do is, they have to think about the needs of their very best customers and see whether they can develop a better level of service for their customers through loyalty programs or through special sales, early access to designs or products, everything that they can do to make those customers feel special so that they spend even more heavily with the brand. So again, to kind of sum it all up, it's important to understand that e-commerce ultimately is amalgamating both marketing and retail. And again, for brands to really succeed and stand out, it has to start with a great product experience, and then it should be bolstered with the right content, the right reviews, and the right associations, as well as closer partnerships with their platform partners.
Thank you, Hamad. So I guess the key over here is the amalgamation of your retail and your marketing efforts, which we could clearly see from the answers that Hamad gave us, that, it's your product first, then it's what other people are talking about your product through reviews and what influencers are talking about. And then it's all the essentials and that you have to actually do in order for your product to be there on the e-com platforms and abiding by their rules and how they want you to actually place your product on those platforms. Is that right?
This is very much it. I think on the last point, it's very much about just being integrated very closely into the marketing calendars of your partners, right? So like, let's say like if you're talking about a company like Daraz will have like weekly, daily, monthly, and quarterly events for brands in your category, right? And then at the same time, they also offer you opportunities for you to like do your own co-marketing campaigns with Daraz, right? Again, typically, in terms of value for money, like partnering with an e-commerce platform, on your marketing will often provide like a much better bang for buck. So it's just like really important that like to the extent that you are selling on these platforms, you work very closely with these platforms to be able to get properly included into their marketing calendars.
So that's a very good learning that your e-com partners have to be like your partners, and you have to be working with them very closely.
Absolutely. And that the importance of that cannot be underestimated at all.
Sure. So now we'll move on to the third part of our discussion, which is about ad budgets. So, what, in your view, big ad budgets are a plus? Yes or no? And then, how can brands with lower ad budgets be successful in the e-com race?
Everybody would like to have big big budgets, especially any marketer would like to be able to have big budgets, especially when they're like looking to tackle their sales targets. But I think generally, like in my opinion, like a big budget is neither sufficient nor necessary for success in online sales. At least success will depend on a lot of other factors beyond your big budgets, right? Now I think like a very important qualification over here is that like a marketing budget is big or small in relation to the sales ambition that a brand has, right? Assuming that companies have done the right job of aligning the right marketing budgets for the right sales budgets, there's still a lot that smaller brands can do who do not have the right access to the budgets, right? In no particular order, right? Like when you don't have the right budgets, or let's say don't have the budgets to be playing on the same big leagues as the bigger players, what you have to be able to do is that you have to be able to make up for it by being more nimble, by putting in more effort, both when it comes to your content, as well as kind of being mindful of all of the resources that are available to you, and be able to see how you can leverage like things like community, Facebook groups to be able to further your brand ambition. I think the second thing over here would be that there is a relationship between budgets and the time period over which you're doing your campaigns. Typically, if you do not have the right budgets, then what you have to do is you have to really invest in a concentrated campaign calendar that is based on customer insights and be able to aggregate your investments at the right time. Again, like a good example over here would, like, let's say if you have $5,000 and you're spending the same amount every day, let's say $150 every day, as opposed to like concentrating that spend over 1 week, you will find that all things equal, the latter proposition will give you better value for money because it will give you better reach and engagement for the same content. The last part over here that would also be important is that, again, big budgets in their own right will not be decisive. When you're kind of thinking about your advertising, it also will depend a lot on how you set up your targeting and how you set up your funnels. Brands that will do a good job of setting those up properly will get a better bang for their buck. The second thing is there's also a journey beyond advertising, and that kind of is on your website, right? So again, companies that have invested in giving a better website experience with better navigation, better like product content, will ultimately benefit from a better conversion rate. So to sum up, I think big budgets are important, but even if you don't have the big budgets, you can make up for it by being more nimble, by having more attention to detail, and by investing in better targeting and better content on your platform.
Well, Hamad, I think you have made our lives easier here, because now not having big budgets cannot be taken as an scapegoat of not coming up with good campaigns, because this is a problem that a lot of people face. And thank you so much for sharing such good information with us. That even if you have lower ad budgets, but if you have the right strategy, if you have your concentrated campaigns, if you have attention to detail to all the other things that are important along with partnerships and co-marketing, then you are good to go, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. And that was some really, really good information. We're just going to end this session. But before you leave, Hamad, we would want you to leave our listeners with 3 tips for turning any brand into an e-com success.
Okay, that's a big one. Look, so I think at the risk of sounding repetitive, right? I think again, success in e-commerce is predicated on, number one, on having a great product, which is differentiated, and a great end-to-end experience around the product, all the way from packaging to return service, right? I think that's absolutely key. If customers will have a good experience with the product, they're going to talk about it with your friends, and that's going to help you basically sell more in the future. And of course, these customers will return again to you too. Number two, you should actively invest in and curate a community around your product. What does that mean, right? That means that you need to like stay close to your best customers, get them to talk about their experience with your product on platforms. You should be actively engaged in groups, and you should actually try to make a community around your product. Number three would be that like companies should invest in excellence in performance marketing, way from acquisition all the way to retention. They can be able that they can by better managing their data, better managing their tracking infrastructure, better managing their targeting infrastructure, so that they're offering the right products and the right offers to the right customer at the right time.
So guys, please do remember these 3 tips by Hamad. And Hamad, thank you so much for sharing these tips with us. And I actually learned a lot in this session about how to combine distinctive brand assets and e-com, and how you can actually become more successful in the online world. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your expertise, and such good information with us. And it was a pleasure having you on Viral Manjan.
So listeners, that's a wrap to the first season of Viral Manjan. And we are so happy. We are so happy that so many of you tuned in and found our podcast so useful. And we are leaving you with a nugget regarding e-commerce, especially lately when e-commerce is booming and digital marketing is on the rise. And we really hope that you tune in for the second season of Viral Manjan, because we have a lot more to say and a lot more insights to give. So stay tuned.